Good morning, everyone. I think we have still a few people that are joining, but I think we'll get started. It's 5 after. And I wanted to first off thank all of you for spending a little bit of time. I know everyone's super busy before the upcoming break for a lot of people. For our webinar today, co-hosted by Avosis, who is a preferred partner of Oracle's. And today we're going to be talking about the cloud's new partnership between finance and HR. And I know some of the attendees who are joined are both on the finance and supply chain side and HR. And really what we're going to talk about today is a study that was done in conjunction with Harvard Business Review with CIOs, CHRIOs, finance people, CFOs around the benefits of having a cloud platform. My name is Frank Kennedy, and I'm the application sales manager with Oracle for Pacific Northwest and Western Canada. And I've been with Oracle almost 5 years now. So very appreciative that you're joining with us today. Also on the call with me from Avosis is Vishal. And Vishal, if you could introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Frank, for that. Vishal Kolar here. I'm with Avosis, and I've played multiple roles in my professional life. I've also been a customer, but primarily I've been an Oracle implementer and have implemented a number of ERP back office solutions over the last 25 years.
Perfect. Thank you, Vishal. So what we're going to do is we're really going to dig deep into the study and look at some of the results, the benefits, some of the critical success factors. We're going to talk a little bit about how Oracle addresses those areas, but this very much is meant to be an educational session. It's not demoing the product in any way. Obviously, we want to talk really about the benefits of having a combined solution, both in finance and HR. Okay, so there's a lot of different reasons why. This study was done prior to the pandemic. So even since then, some of the results probably would have changed, right? What is the priorities from the various executives that were interviewed? And we've seen that very much in the last 2 years in terms of resiliency, business resiliency, not just transformation as being a priority. So obviously the results, a couple of years old, they would have changed, but they're still very important and very prominent, I think, in the eyes of executives in both finance and HR. So
and Frank, if I can add from a logistics, I know for the folks on the call, they're on listen-only mode, but they can still submit their questions. So folks, please use the chat feature to submit questions, and we'll take it and respond to those accordingly.
Yeah, definitely. And we have some time at the end as well. We're gonna do Q&A, so I encourage you to ask your questions, and we'll answer those as best as we can as well. Okay. So real quick, there's just our safe harbor statement. We're really not going to be going into any features or functionality today. It's more around the results of the study. So we're going to delve into that, but we typically show this in most of our presentations. So I just wanted to cover that off right at the start. And this is a quote from the study that I thought was really interesting from Doug Keuring, who's our EVP and Chief of Staff. And you know, he talks about within the study, finance has really become the co-pilot to the business, providing forward-looking guidance. Management needs to capitalize on the next market opportunity. And HR, and I've seen this in the last few years especially, has been an essential role in ensuring that the business has the talent it needs to execute on digital strategies and create a change-ready culture. What we've seen in the last 2 years especially, and especially that people are working remotely, is that talent and retention of talent is more important than ever before. And Oracle was really known, you know, finance and accounting and supply chain, but human capital management and HR has really become a prominent application and need that companies are looking to address firsthand, even before their core ERP system. And I'm sure there's a number of reasons why. One thing that I've really heard from the end users and the business is that HR and people really reach all different areas of the business, right? There isn't a department typically unless you have employees and personnel that are running it. So you can see how much more prominent in the last few years human capital management, HR, people and talent has become across the industry. The differences, these are kind of just some quotes and snippets or sound bites of people, how people view HR and finance and whether it's right or wrong. But, you know, HR departments often live by the model, people are our greatest asset. And I actually see that more so amongst companies now, right? Like I just said, it really is a prominent thing to get HCM system even before a new finance system. And finance departments, on the other hand, operate on the old adage, cash is king, right? You need to have money in the door. We need to cover expenses. We need to cover salaries in order to run the business. And the key is how do we bring these departments together, right? And there's functional areas where if you have, you're ramping up your business, you're doubling your staff, or you have multiple requisitions on a monthly basis, well, you need to plan for that. You need to budget for that so you have the money to cover payroll, you know, for months and obviously years to come. So these are just some of the differences or the way we view ourselves in the various departments. It really is, though, a strong relationship. And I think where HR was a little bit separated in years past, you know, make sure we have the headcount we need, the roles are filled, and we're always recruiting and looking for new talent and retaining talent. It really is starting to become a very strong and much closer relationship that it's been in the past, right? And you can see that strong relationship leads to improvements in employee productivity and engagement, and inevitably in higher corporate earnings. However, in order to create a positive working relationship based on collaboration, both departments really need to have an appreciation for the goals and the work for each other's departments. One thing where this really comes into play is sharing of data, right? And you hear about this all the time when people are talking about deploying ERPs and systems. The one thing I'll tell you from every department, whether it's operations, finance, HR, is business intelligence, reporting, dashboards. And a lot of the times, one of the biggest struggles is sharing of data. One department is making a decision, not necessarily getting the exact, accurate, or current data from another department. Workforce management is a perfect example. We need to hire on a ton of people, but we also need to check with finance that we have the budget in order to do this. And with growing or larger companies, it's not always easy to knock on someone's door and get that data. So a combined solution right away is a practical reason to get one common platform. You get shared data. There's definitely the changing landscape, and this is something that I talked about, you know, just then. These departments really didn't talk to each other, right? And I think it was just the nature of the business. There was a lot of disparate systems, and that's quite common. It still is. You know, when we're talking to customers, a lot of the time where Oracle's sweet spot is a multi-pillar platform, a combined solution. And Oracle very much did that over 10 years ago with our Fusion Cloud application. One combined platform, combined data, not acquired systems, not third-party applications coming together, right? So now with solutions, you have information that is more timely, accessible, and you can make decisions, right? We are making decisions faster than ever in terms of hires, in terms of budgeting. Companies, because of even the pandemic, have gone from budgeting annually or quarterly, even to monthly now, to make sure, hey, listen, we need to hire on people. At the same time, we need to watch our bottom line, and they need that data. So having a combined platform has really shifted that narrative in the positive, where companies can make agile decisions, even at scale, and just become a better company, become a more efficient company with shared data. Anything to add there, Vishal, in terms of what you're seeing as well in the industry?
That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. We're seeing a lot of benefits and a lot of tangible benefit that really makes an impact to the bottom line of the customer when they have this combined platform. And I do intend to cover some real world examples in the second half of the presentation around some of the tangible improvements that customers are seeing, whether it's improved HR functions, whether it's a modern finance, and so forth.
Excellent. Thank you, Vishal. So moving to the cloud, this is somewhat old, I would think, right? You know, it's somewhat an expectation that you're going to be on a cloud solution, not on an on-prem system. But surprisingly, a lot of companies, I would say most, are still on premise legacy systems, right? But there's definitely reasons that are driving this cloud migration for existing customers that are on premise or companies that are on legacy systems. Obviously with COVID, you know, everyone working remote, and people who maybe had laid off employees or were on furlough and then bringing them back and hiring on new talent, that has obviously shifted everything. Skill shortages required to run exiting systems, and obviously improving the way enterprise data is shared across departments. You're going to hear that word data or shared data probably multiple times, because that really is a driving factor, whether it's from IT or IS, finance, HR, operations. Everyone needs to make decisions based off of data points, right? We don't want to interpret things or make wrong decisions or best guesses. We want to make decisions based off of real and current data. So let's take a look at some of the insights from the research. I'm not sure if the link was originally shared to the detailed report, but for all of the attendees and registrants, we'll ensure that's shared. It's a PDF. It's not a long read, but it's a good read. And if you're also helping to justify a change in your HCM systems or ERP or justify budget, I think some of these data points will be very helpful, and probably similar to some of the pain points and issues that your company is going through now and why you're thinking about making a shift towards a new HCM or ERP system. So just a little bit about the document and who did the researchers speak to. Well, we had 700 respondents. So this is in conjunction with Harvard Business Review. And the respondents included senior managers and mid-level management, and counterparts from finance, HR, IT, and multiple C-level executives. The respondents were primarily in the Americas, so both Canada and the US, but we also had globally. So if you have a international business, you know, if you're operating in Europe or Middle East or Africa, we definitely had some of the respondents from there, and Asia as well. And these really were from a range of industries. So financial, professional services, manufacturing, construction, you know, all industries have a need for these type of systems. Obviously, there's some specifics based on regulatory compliance or based on just the nature of the business or industry they're in. But it was across the board. So there wasn't just one segment that we focused in on. And really at the time, this is not only a few years ago, 35% planned to create a shared finance and HR function within a year. And that doesn't mean it's all Oracle. Obviously, Oracle, we'd love it to be our system, both on finance and on the HR side, but sometimes you're going to go best of breed and you are going to integrate systems. There's definitely strange bedfellows within the software space and ERP and HCM. So sometimes you're going to see, hey, listen, we're going to go best of breed, in our opinion, for HCM, and we're going to go a totally different ERP. Obviously, there's good and bad in doing that, but in the end, it's up to the business and the end users what fits best for them. So some of the primary objectives and the business objectives of HR and finance in terms of where they're going to spend their cloud. In the light blue, you'll see this was the C-level people we spoke to. In the dark blue or navy, this is senior management. And in the gray, you're going to see the mid-level managers. So it's definitely slightly different, right, in terms of what the interest and the business objectives. From the C-suite, improving productivity and performance was number one. and senior management the same, as well as the mid-level managers. And I think that really is one of the big goals of getting a combined solution or bringing in new systems. How do we become more efficient? How do we produce more? How do we perform better? All of those things contribute to the overall health and the benefits of the company across the board. I won't go through all of these, and for sure we'll send these so you can see the detailed report. But a lot of the data you can see is the C-level were less focused than the middle managers on cost reductions. And that makes sense, right? At an executive level, you're making strategic decisions to grow the business. And they weren't looking at P&L or only P&L and having to save money on cost. They were looking to invest in technology and systems that could really help scale up the business, right? So you can take a look here real quick. Again, I won't go through everything, but these were some of the primary business objectives for both HR and finance, investing in a system. Okay. Some of the other outcomes were really looking to improve information flow, increased agility and responsiveness. And these are obviously, when you're a business and you need to pivot and you're a growing business, it gets harder to be agile, to be flexible like you were when you were under 500 employees. Now you're at 1,000, everything moves slower and slower and slower. And that's a problem in business, right? If you can't be responsive, if you can't get the information you need, that inevitably leads to delays and it leads to an impact on the bottom line. So you can see some of the outcome ratings. In the dark blue, you're looking at the better than expected with the C-suite. Again, your light blue in line with expectations with the middle managers, and worse than expected as well. So some of the main ones, ability to meet senior managers' information requirements. You can see better than expected. Ability to respond to market opportunities and challenges, and time frame of transition to cloud. So not too much information to see here. These pretty much on average were very similar. There wasn't anything that really stood out for these three areas around information flow, agility, and responsiveness. I'll just give it a second there so you can take a look.
And maybe I can comment. It's interesting how time frame to transition to cloud is number 3 or in the top 3 in people's mind. And with cloud, some of the folks who may have seen ERP or HCM implementations in the past life, where an army of consultants, they descend and takes like 2 years to implement the back office solutions. With cloud, the time to value and market has changed drastically. We can really get HR or an ERP applications up within, I would say, a frame of quarters. So that really addresses some of the concerns that we've also heard, and how cloud really addresses those time to value.
Excellent. Thanks, Vishal. Cloud delivers. I think, most people get this now. Cloud's been around for a long time. And these are just some of the data. 94% say their expectations were met. And it makes sense. You're going from a legacy on-premise system or disparate applications that aren't integrated or aren't part of a common platform. You would expect that people would see results in moving to the cloud. So funny that there's actually some spelling mistakes from Harvard Business Review on here. I think exceeded is spelled wrong. That's direct from them. But just take a quick look. Met expectations 27%, exceeded expectations 39%. Less than 10% did not meet expectations. So overall, what this tells you is it's a good decision to move from legacy applications, especially on-premise, where you have your internal infrastructure, hardware that you need to manage, or resources that you need to have, or subject matter expertise for various areas. Obviously, you can cut down on those resources. You can cut down on the infrastructure because the applications are all hosted in the cloud. Oracle has its own data centers, does its own hosting. So there's a lot of benefits there in shifting from a legacy or on-prem system. So here are the 7 critical success factors. I think the other ones actually in light blue are really important as well. But when you're looking to shift to a new application, or you're looking at a combined HR and finance application, these are what some of the respondents said that, hey, listen, to get this moved along, to get approval, to get buy-in, there's some really important factors to look at. IT cooperation, it was the number one. And we know that IT or IS, some of you maybe from these various departments or architecture, I know are on the call. They may not own the procurement of the solution that you're looking at. They may not even own the budget, right? HR may own its own budget or finance or what have you, but they definitely have influence around the policies and procedures based on the applications that are sourced and the companies that are sourced as well, right? Almost every company that buys from us, there's always the due diligence that's done on behalf of the customer through their IS or IT team. Is the application secure? Where's the data hosted? Does it meet the SOC 1 or SOC 2 policies? All of these things are needed. So one thing that I would encourage the attendees that are sourcing a new system is engage IT early, right? That was the number one. Picking the right cloud provider, right? Make sure your application is truly a cloud application, number one, not an on-premise system hosted in the cloud. Those are 2 different things. And it's a right fit, right? If it's not a right fit, you're not going to get user buy-in. The business is not going to be interested, and you could have a failed project, which no one wants. I think the other thing that has to happen for sure, and this was kind of tied for second for a critical success factor, is a partnership and collaboration amongst HR and finance. And that might not be there yet, right? They still might be siloed departments that are really running independently. They could be in 2 different locations. I've seen that lots too. They're physically not in the same office, especially now if everyone's working from home. There isn't as much interaction. But I think you have to make a point of saying what are some of the combined interests and needs for both departments. Maybe it is business intelligence and reporting. Maybe it is planning and budgeting between multiple areas. And if you can find collaboration in some of these common data points, then you can use those data points, whether to create an RFP, to procure a new system, or just really to define your requirements when you go out and source from the various vendors out there who do this. I think also creating the right internal team, and this makes sense that it really is, in the top 7. Sometimes, you're going to have a business analyst or a project manager that's running the procurement. They're engaging with the business, which is great. But you also want to have the business members engaged and talking to the various vendors that you're talking to, because sometimes things get lost in translation. Typically with Oracle, we like to engage the business early and do detailed discovery. So getting the right team members on board and having those detailed discussions really makes sense, because you want to get the right system. I know multiple companies have gone through various HR systems or ERPs. And what we always say is the goal is to deploy the last ERP you're ever going to need. And you don't want to go through that again, because it is a big project. Both on the HR and finance side, typically. Picking the right partner, right? We have brought on Avosis, and we hosted this with them for a reason. I know Vishal well. We've done implementations together, and their company can do supply chain, ERP, HCM. We obviously have an ecosystem of thousands of different partners. But those are the people you're going to be dealing with who help run the project. Those are the project managers, the subject matter experts that are really relaying the information from the business and building it into the system until go live. So you want to make sure you have the right system integrator, right partner as part of your implementation. I think this is somewhat expected, this encouraging a culture that embraced the digital mindset. I think everyone knows that now. I think COVID has really fast-tracked that. It's like we need cloud systems that are remote, that our employees can access throughout the globe, because they could be operating or living anywhere. Things change, we can't travel, new restrictions come into play. So I think this is somewhat common. I'd be surprised if that 34% wasn't much higher if you asked these same respondents today. And lastly, simplified and standardized processes in advance. You really don't want this to be too complicated, okay? Obviously, there's complexity in terms of the needs, and every customer and company is different, but you want to have some, kind of table stakes and a framework right away of what we want to do. And it could be simple things, as I mentioned before, like shared data, business intelligence, a shared reporting application, something that isn't third party that we got to integrate to and maintain that integration. You want it to be simple, easy to support. And a lot of times customers want to look at one vendor. One throat to choke is a lot of what people say, not having to go to multiple vendors and supporting multiple systems. So those are the top 7. Obviously, the other 4 here are really important: executive sponsorship, communication framework. These are all going to be really important, but these were the top 7 from the respondents in terms of having a success in getting a combined solution for both ERP or finance and HR. So the other impact as well, and some of the benefits, and this is obviously from the respondents, definitely improvement for IT relations with HR and finance. Having a combined system, not having to engage your employees IT or IS all the time because this integration's broke, or we need to have this third-party reporting tool brought in to generate the report. We need to engage a DBA that reports through to the head of IS or IT, and it's going to take a week to get. Those really lowered the number of help tickets even for engaging IS and IT. And you can see across the board, definitely the respondents said, hey, listen, this overall improved our IS IT relations with the team that usually is overseeing the ERP and HCM system once it goes live. So very high numbers, high percentages from the respondents here. And you can see improvements, obviously, between HR and finance. I think this is what this entire presentation is about, other than having a combined solution. How are they starting to engage? Well, you can see the multiple areas here: process quality, data quality, flow of information, collaboration, organizational integration, and I'm sure efficiency. You can see that the improvements, just a massive increase. No change and decreased, really low. So it seemed like across the board, for sure, for over the 700 attendees, they definitely saw a significant impact in all of these areas between HR and finance. So some of the biggest benefits, and I think we have the last couple of slides here around the report. Obviously, deeper HR and finance collaboration, and biggest benefits for workforce can realize between a combined solution. Finance and HR collaborate better on rolling forecasts and what-if scenarios, improving planning and budgeting. And that just makes sense. You have a combined solution and shared data. Finance and HR collaborated, generate outcomes that increased employee engagement. There's something to be said about having a shared solution. And an easy way to run a report or send a hyperlink, hey, check out this report, or sharing with someone else outside of your department. Starting to engage other departments in what they're doing and how we can get better really makes for a better culture overall within a company. Talent reviews, succession planning can be done more effectively, even more so now. It's how do you do it remotely, right? Not as easy before, but with tools like Zoom, like Teams, and with a combined solution, you can do that. And for sure, on the HR side, performance goals can be set. So these are some of the biggest benefits that came out from the respondents. And some of these continued, obviously, improvement of user experience. They don't have to be trained on 2 different solutions, right? Just think about the practicality of that. Yeah, you got to use this HR system, and also you got to use this finance application if you want to go in and you need to generate a report here. And if you have a support issue, you need to talk to this company, or for this other application, you need to talk to this company. It's just not efficient. you spend double the time. So when you can have a combined user experience, it's easier to train internally. It's just a better approach for everyone. Preparing the organization for next generation technology. Obviously, you want to be set up, let's say for at least the next 10 years. You don't want to implement a new system or make a mistake and then, hey, we need to bring in a third-party application. Or you source an application that's great within HR, but they have no plans for deploying or developing a finance and accounting system. So there are definitely some headaches to deal with when you're combining solutions together. Providing greater solution accessibility, pretty straightforward. You only need to access one system. You don't have to deal with the headaches of logging into 2 different applications or issues around single sign-on. It is one combined application that you can access via the cloud online. And lastly, reducing the amount of mundane IT tasks. So you can focus on strategic projects. If we become more efficient from all departments, that is what really ERP and a combined solution is doing. That's how you save money, how you improve the bottom line, just gained efficiencies, improved view of data across the enterprise. That's what every company and every department that I've been with for the last 5 years in this space is always looking for. Okay, so last slide here, just around the report, some of the results and future plans from the executives that we spoke to. 43% plan to bring IT into finance and HR to help employees take advantage of new technologies, right? So IT is important. You saw that it was one of the critical success factors, the #1 in terms of highest percentage. So engaging IT is crucial. 42% will provide management skills training to help employees break out of their traditional administrative responsibilities. When you have an HCM system, you can also have a combined learning system, right? And if you're learning remotely or virtually, which however many companies have adopted learning systems as part of their HR system in the past couple of years, that's the way it's going, or that's the way it's gone. And most people don't see that changing anytime soon. 42% plan to automate administrative and low-skilled roles. You're going to see, artificial intelligence, machine learning, a lot of these, and I wouldn't even say bleeding edge technologies. These are leading edge technologies that are quite common now, right? Even on the HR side, for example, you can have it where you can have a digital assistant, and you guys have seen those before, but you can have it in HR, even with an Oracle, where they can ask specific questions, right? Once they're viewing the posting for the job, and they can get immediate answers. And that's what you want. You want to get new talent on your page, being engaged, being interested in the role, and then submitting their resume, right? And you can do that without having someone maintaining or responding to questions, and you can do that 24 hours a day with new digital assistants and machine learning. 40% plan to build their team's data science and statistical analysis expertise. You're going to see that, right? Most of your companies might have hired on a data scientist, and they're looking to make decisions based off of data, but they're probably using third-party applications or building out the reports themselves. So when you can have a combined reporting and business intelligence tool, they can leverage data across the enterprise, and then you can make decisions based off of that data. That's really where you want to be. So multiple areas and departments obviously can use the system, not just finance, not just IS, not just HR. And lastly, among the finance and HR executives whose companies have fully deployed the cloud or a cloud solution, almost half say their ability to reshape or resize the organization as necessary has significantly improved, as do 47% of C-level respondents. And that's great. That's what you want to see. There's no point in deploying a new system if it's not going to make your company better and better off for the foreseeable future, right? It's a good sized investment. It's a big change, and you don't, by deploying an ERP or HCM system, want to make it harder for end users and become more efficient. The goal is obviously to grow and scale, become better at your jobs through technology. Okay, So just a little bit around the solution. I talked about the results from the respondents, but I also think it's important, and this is kind of a little bit of the sales pitch, is what Oracle can do and why Oracle and why we actually engaged Harvard Business Review for this study years ago, right? This is not something new. This is something we knew was coming. And what Oracle has done is we built a Fusion Cloud application over 10 years ago now. So we haven't stitched together third-party applications. It's based off of the legacy systems. You may have used PeopleSoft or EBS or what have you, but this was a brand new application that was written over 10 years ago. So one solution. So depending on what area you're in, I know a lot of people here are from finance or HR or operations, supply chain, IT, customer experience, or CX. This is one platform. And these are bolt-on solutions or modules that you can add at any given time. So you definitely don't have to do everything right away. There could be a phased approach. It might just be finance and HR you need to adopt. And as I mentioned before, Oracle is really big on these leading edge technologies. So you're going to see, even behind the scenes, machine learning, AI, chatbots, digital advisors. We're even using blockchain with certain companies to really improve the overall experience, to not have to hire a headcount for certain roles. There's really vast improvements. But the whole goal here is to get one combined solution. So if you're scaling, you're hiring on more employees, you're looking at these multiple areas, I definitely think, take a look at Oracle. We can show you a combined solution that really most organizations are looking for. They're not looking to support 4 or 5 different systems like they're doing now or they've done in the past. Here's actually a slide, and I wanted to show this because it shows some of the practical reasons, right? I talked about high-level benefits and efficiency and, how to scale the company, but why? Why do it, right? Well, what you can see here are some of the specific key dependencies between Oracle HCM and financials. Now, this is not just for Oracle. This is specific to Oracle, but whatever solutions you source in both those departments will require the dependencies between both, right? So you can see in the bottom left of your screen here, we have our HCM system. Look at all the different data points or areas or master data that feeds into this, whether from AR or AP or inventory. Maybe you're a project-based company. You need to feed information in from a sales and marketing standpoint to plan your new hires, or expenses for your employees, fixed assets purchasing. There is definitely a collaboration and a dependency between both areas. And you can see on the right-hand side, this is shared data, shared foundation data between both financials and HCM, right? These are practical things on a daily basis that whether you're running reports or doing financial transactions or doing requisitions that you're going to need. And how much easier will it be with one solution versus 2? How much less will you have to worry about, hey, listen, we need to make sure that integration is built in a new version update from one of these different solutions. So there's definitely some practical benefits right at a master data level and information flow between HR and finance. You guys have probably all seen these Magic Quadrant reports, but they're important because these are analysts who look at the various systems within various industries or on finance or HR, and they really rank based off ability to execute and completeness of vision. They talk to customers on who's the best, who really is leading the pack. And on the left-hand side, this is one, for mid-sized companies, large and global, for basically ERP, and Oracle by far number 1. The next one is for financial planning and analysis solutions. Oracle again, top right. And the last one, and this was just released in 2021, is for HCM systems. And you can see, we're neck and neck, still leading on the completeness of vision. So when you combine both these solutions together, finance and HR, you can see that you're really dealing with best of breed. And you also have, of course, the benefit of one platform, not multiple systems that you're bringing together. I'd encourage you to read these. There's detailed reports online. You can request them through Oracle, or directly through Gartner. They're free. And if you need something to help justify the spend or budget, or help define your business case to move to a new solution, the Gartner Magic Quadrants are very helpful. Lastly, this is around enterprise performance management, so planning and budgeting, account rec, narrative reporting. There's multiple areas. You can see again, Oracle, just one other report from IDC where Oracle is ranked #1. And just to finish up here, getting the solution is one thing, but having support from your vendor is going to be crucial. I already talked about Avosis, and I know that Vishal's going to talk a little bit about Avosis here for the next few minutes after my slides. But you have 2,000 plus customer success managers with Oracle, and we want to engage and support the application while you're deploying and after. Right? This is typically a long-term engagement. It's like a marriage, and you want it to last, but you need to have obviously two partners willing to work together and supporting each other. And Oracle does its own support. We have our own customer success teams. We heavily invest in innovation and technology. You rarely will ever see any marketing or ads from Oracle because we're very much focused on our products. And we're one of the only truly cloud applications, both ERP, supply chain, and HCM written from scratch, not bringing in third-party applications or acquiring solutions and then stitching them together. Okay, so that's a big benefit of looking at Oracle and our Fusion Cloud application. And you're joining a global community, right? So the great thing is that whatever industry you're in, you'll see, in the Harvard Business report that I just showed some of the data points, those were from all different areas and walks of life and industries. And you're going to join probably an industry where there's multiple competitors or companies like yourselves that are working together or sharing information. And a ton of the input from our customers in our Customer Cloud Connect really gets mapped into the product roadmap. So we're listening to our customers. We can listen and then execute on those requests even more efficiently now with tools like our global community. And obviously, when things start to happen again, where we can meet in person and have Oracle Open World again, that's where we want to get to as we go forward. But there's tons of customers. If ever you want to talk to references, if you're fully engaged with Oracle, we can provide those, or obviously our partners like Avosis can talk about some of the implementations that they've done. And I know Vishal here shortly is going to talk about 2 or 3 that have deployed both an HCM and a combined ERP solution through Oracle. Okay. So with that said, I want to thank everyone. Please ask any questions in the chat function. And I'm going to stop sharing here and turn it over to Vishal.
Thank you, Frank. That was really insightful. And what I wanted to now share is some real world examples of customer bearing the fruits of having their combined finance and HCM applications on the Oracle Cloud. But before that, I know Frank had mentioned Oracle and partner ecosystem. So first and foremost, Oracle gives you a complete flexibility of choosing and selecting a partner that you would want to work with. Unlike some of the other vendors, they're not locking you into a select few partners, but rather giving you the full flexibility. And some of the credentials that customers they look for in selecting a partner is around their industry expertise. They're also, the success of implementing cloud for a number of customers. And before I get into some of the customer case studies, I wanted to share a quick introduction about Avosis. With the advent of cloud, believe it or not, it's been almost 7-8 years ago when the whole cloud shift started. We've taken more than 1,000 plus customers over to the Oracle Cloud finish line. And a number of them have been on HCM and ERP as well. And what we provide as a service provider is all the way from strategy to best practices implementation. And then when customers, they adopt Oracle Cloud, Oracle does have a really great support model. But if customers, they still want us to be an extension of their IT or business team, Evosys can also do production support. Our global presence helps, especially for customers that have a lot of their divisions or let's say warehouses in different countries. So we do have the ability to flex, provide not only local consultants during the implementation, but also consultants that understand the local statutory and compliance requirements for each of those countries. Just a quick one on awards and what the outside market thinks about Evosys. The red logos are essentially, if you were at Oracle Open World, these are the Partner of the Year award that Oracle awards to their partners. And over the last 3 years, we've been chosen by Oracle to be the Partner of the Year across HCM and ERP across a number of geographies. And this is a testament to some of the unique business challenges we've been solving for our customers. On the right-hand side is the Gartner's Magic Quadrant, and there are only 16 partners that made the cut. And Evosys was ranked #1 when it came to customer satisfaction. And the way I see it is that we're not Accentures of the world, but we've been doing our fair share of taking customers across their digital journey. And given, we've been able to successfully take more than 1,000+ customers over to the cloud finish line, we really perfected our implementation methodology. And that leads to a higher quality of implementation at a much better price point compared to the big fives. Okay, so I wanted to share a couple of case studies. The first one is Rouse's Market. They own about 60+ grocery chains in the central US. And what they were faced with was they had a multitude of legacy application, namely AS400, running their financials, procurement, supply chain, inventory side of the house, and then a mishmash of custom application running their HR business functions. And typically in a grocery chain, the margins are razor thin, about 2% or so. And then with the advent of COVID, Rouse's Market was faced with a really change in the behavior of customer on how they buy, how they expect delivery of groceries, how they want to maybe even perhaps pick up the grocery at the curbside. And when they looked at their legacy application, they were not able to meet a lot of the changing demand, changing in the customer behavior. And then B, they had a really high cost of ownership to really just manage their legacy application. So what Rouse's did was they embarked on a selection of their software provider, and they looked at all of the tier 1 ERP and HCM solutions out in the market, and they finally decided to embark on their digital transformation with Oracle. And some of the benefits that, and on the left, before I talk about the benefits, are some of the modules that they've gone live with. So not only they got financials, which is AP, AR, general ledger, fixed assets, and cash and banking integrations. They also implemented Product Data Hub, just because they have more than 100,000 SKUs that they sell for their customers. On the HR side, they went with core HR, some of the traditional benefits and absence management. And then for the 7,000 employees, they also implemented payroll on Oracle Cloud. And once they went live, some of the improvements they saw were quite a significant reduction in time it takes to process their payroll. A number of manual processes in the past has been really automated, so significant productivity improvement on Oracle. And then analytics is a big piece and able to really not only understand the cost, not only able to really manage expenses, but able to create an enterprise view of how their business is performing through Oracle Analytics was really powerful. So this Rouse's Market is a great success story of a customer really modernizing their ERP, modernizing their HR functions, and able to really adapt to the new COVID forced change behavior of the customers, and including reducing their TCO is a great example. A second example is Zanitos. They're based in Pennsylvania. 1,500 employees. Their core business is they provide a lot of the housekeeping and transportation services for a number of leading hospitals in the Eastern Seaboard. They were running a combination of legacy applications where that was forcing them to really not have their order management, their billing system talk to the HR side of the house. And with the adoption of Oracle Cloud, they were able to streamline all of their financial, all of their procurement, including getting a lot of significant savings in their both direct and indirect procurement purchases. And then on the HR side, they went with the global HR. And also they went with a lot of the, I call it advanced modules, such as performance management, talent review, succession management, and so forth. And truly, they wanted to have a modern finance. And this example, I wanted to illustrate some of the planning and budgeting capabilities also they went with. So what they were able to do is not only, automate a lot of their core back office function, but with planning and budgeting, they were able to get a view into the future, how they should run their business, meaning what their financial expectations are, and do a lot of the what if modeling within the planning and budgeting cloud service. This was about a 9-month implementation across financial, supply chain, and HR, and they were able to also retain Paycom as their payroll provider. And I intentionally wanted to mention Paycom just because some customers, they want to retain payroll functions, could be in ADP, could be in Paycom, and Oracle gives you the benefit and the flexibility of having a seamless built-in integration with the leading providers. So as a result, you can run a lot of your HR core benefits, advanced modules within Oracle, and still leverage some of the leading payroll providers out of ADP or out of the Paycoms of the world. Okay, and then lastly, Archrock is they make natural gas compression services. They're based in Houston, Texas, in the energy and utility space, and they came off from their on-premise ERP and HR application over to the cloud. And with that, you can see a number of modules were implemented. We talked about in the previous 2 case studies, financials, but in this case, customer also went with a lot of the project. They do a lot of project-based work. And as a result, they wanted ability to A, capture time, and then B, able to really build their customers based on the project work that their employees were performing on the customer's behalf. And then a lot of the other supply chain, CPQ, service type of functions were also implemented in the Oracle Cloud. And then we talked about HCM. Health and safety is a big concern considering the nature of the industry that they're in. Also, this Archrock benefited by moving their IoT business function, meaning they on the field, they were able to manage if equipments they need maintenance, or if equipments are failing in the field, they were able to really capture in real time what equipment needs attention based on the IoT cloud. And what this illustrates, case study illustrates, is Oracle has this modular approach, and at your convenience, you can take you can adapt a phased or a big bang approach and implement financials, supply chain, and some of the leading products that Oracle can provide over to you. Archrock, this was a quick 9-month implementation across a number of modules we've had. They were running payroll for the US employees in Oracle, and they saw significant payroll processing improvements with Oracle. And all in all, given the multitude of applications that are now running on the Oracle Cloud, their C-suite was able to really get a good view of their entire business KPIs, how they're performing, are they meeting their KPI objectives, and were able to really run their business in real time with using a single consolidated ERP, HCM, and supply chain functions. So these are some real world examples. These are all they've gone live on Oracle solutions. Happy to talk to if anybody is contemplating how their journey has been on the Oracle Cloud. But what it illustrates is modular approach, single enterprise solution for customers, and really tangible improvements that customers can not only measure, but can really benefit by moving to the Oracle Cloud. So with that, we can open it up for questions and see if folks on the call have any questions we can answer.
And I know we're at the top of the hour here, guys. So if there are any questions that we can't answer, definitely myself or Vishal will follow up, and we'll also be following up with the winner. We're going to have a raffle and pick who it is from the attendee side, from obviously any of the customers or companies for tickets. So you may have seen that in the original email and invite, and we'll have those probably in the next couple days or so and contact the winner. So please feel free to, any questions in the chat, Neelam? I know we're going over time here. I think we scheduled an hour. I have one. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, one question is around, do customers have to implement Big Bang, or can they take a phased approach? Maybe I can take that. And
yeah, go for it, for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely, a phased approach or a Big Bang. It all depends on the level of change management and the volume of change that a customer is willing to adopt. We've seen a number of Big Bang implementations where customers have implemented both ERP and HCM as part of a singular Big Bang. And we've also seen, like Archrock is a great example where customer wants to go with a phased approach. So it kind of, I would say it depends on the customer and the willingness or appetite for change. But Oracle solution absolutely can go with a Big Bang or easy phased approach.
Perfect. So I have another question here around your advantages over some of your competitors. Well, I can follow that person directly, but I'll tell you, kind of like, everyone knows the usual suspects. And some of the other companies are still an on-premise in the cloud solution. So be aware of that. Check into, is it truly cloud? And is there third-party applications that are stitched in? One of the other applications is more focused around the HCM side. I'm not going to name them, but I'm definitely more than willing to follow up and have a conversation around the HCM side and really new to finance and accounting. So check that. The last couple of years, I think they just developed the finance and accounting system, and you want to make sure that you have some use cases and case studies like Vishal has presented, that this is proven. And the last one that's quite common also in the HR space does not have a finance and accounting tool. So if you pick them, you'll actually have to go with a third party or separate application in finance and accounting. So definitely some big differences. I think true cloud application and a combined solution on both HR, finance, and obviously other areas like supply chain operations is where Oracle really does well. And the last question, we'll just finish up here because I know we're going over. If you select, I think actually, Vishal, you just answered this already. If you select Oracle on the finance and accounting side, do you need to select Oracle on the HCM side? Absolutely not. You can use third-party payroll. You can use a third-party solution or a payroll service provider. You know, we're flexible enough. It doesn't have to be all Oracle all the time. We can integrate and work with other systems. Obviously, there's benefits of having a combined solution, but you absolutely can do that. Okay. I think we have a few other questions. We'll follow up with those who asked. So we have a list and I'll follow up directly. I want to just say thank you again, guys, for sticking around for the last hour. Hopefully that was informative. We'll ensure that we send the detailed HBR report to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Rachel. More than happy to help out in any way. Thanks again, and have a great holiday. And we'll hopefully talk to all of you here soon. Bye for now.